over 100 episodes later. In episode 88, today's guest showed us how an artist sees the wilderness differently than the rest of us. Now, in episode 189, he's inviting you to do the same. He's hiking into wild places, and he's painting what he finds, and he's posting clues online and on social media, and the first person to figure out where he is and hike out to him gets that painting for free. The reason he's doing it might surprise you. Welcome back to the Silvercore Podcast, my friend, Casey Braam.
Yeah, great to be here.
Casey, it's been a bit, 101 episodes later. You were number 88, and now it's 189. Lots happened since then.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit crazy. You know, I'm just kind of like in the studio. We recorded right here last time at the table behind me.
Yeah.
And I was kind of thinking about that as I walked in here this morning. I'm like, you know, it feels like everything with time, I guess. It feels like yesterday and 100 years ago at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just kind of how it goes, I guess.
Yeah, you find it gets faster and faster as you get older. That time just doesn't have the same, like when I was younger, my summers would drag on forever, and now you blink and they're gone.
Yeah, I think it's both at the same time. Like I think like moments can last longer because you're better at being patient, but then like the overall arc of time goes faster. That's it for me anyway. I feel like a summer or a fall or whatever zips by and you hardly even notice that it happened, but like, you know, I find I'm more patient to enjoy actual moments.
Mm-hmm.
So those moments are longer, but overall it's just, you know, fast forward keeps getting faster and faster.
Well, when we were in your studio at the table they're recording, you had a couple of Boone and Crockett bear skulls sitting on the table there.
Yeah.
Pretty large. They're up there anyways. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, one's hanging up right here, right? It's staring at me.
And you said, Trav, if you want to come out bear hunting, we should do it. So last year, headed up to your neck of the woods and went out on a little bear hunt together. Holy crow, did I ever have a great time with you. It was a hell of an adventure.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, no, I'm happy you enjoyed it. You know, yeah, I think it's a different experience every time.
Yeah.
That's just hunting, I guess, or just getting outdoors and doing things. It's just so variable. But yeah, it was really fun. And it was cool to kind of, you know, because we haven't hunted together, you've hunted in, you know, different situations than I have. It was one of the things that I talk to people about, like if I'm talking about that experience, I just talk about how like, you know, your approach is a little bit different than mine, and we kind of had conversations as we went, like, you know, I would have done this or I would have done that, or, and I find that really interesting because it's like, yeah, you learn so much from someone if you're just kind of stepping outside of what your normal routine of hunting or whatever it is, if there is a normal routine of hunting.
Yeah,
But
good point.
yeah, I found that really interesting to just kind of share that time with you and just kind of be experiencing it a little bit differently, and also just showing you around. You know, like it's an area I've spent lots of time in, and you know, you probably notice I'm pretty comfortable in those spaces because they're ones I've been to many times.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I think it was just a kind of a cool experience for those reasons.
Yeah, it was really neat. I'd never been in that area before. It was a beautiful area. And yeah, I think there is more similarities between how we hunt than there were differences. But the little differences, obviously, our eyes are tuned to pick up differences quickly. And all the little different, like for example, you'll step in every pile of bear scat you see, whereas I'll use a stick to scrape each one of these things. Little differences, that's okay.
Right. Yeah.
But we started incorporating each other's differences, and we both ended up being successful incorporating both of the differences, which I thought was pretty neat. And not only successful, but successful within what, it was like 20 minutes of each other.
Yeah, actually, I was hunting again this spring in that same area, and I was kind of reliving, like, you know, as we were like heading down that area, I was like, you know what, like this is where I ended up taking my bear, and like, yeah, 2 corners later in that little draw there's where Travis got his bear, you know, and so it's just kind of like so close together, really close together time. I look at my like, you know, my iHunter app, and it's like, okay, one pin's here, and if you're too zoomed out, they overlap each other, you know. It's like, okay, yeah, that was pretty close quarters, and we, you know, you saw other bears while we sat and waited for bears to come out.
Yeah.
We were hearing other bears, even it was later in the, you know, the spring season, so we heard bears fighting off in the bush. And yeah, I just kind of was reliving that a bit this year because we hunted the same area, and my brother actually ended up taking a bear not 500 yards from where you took yours.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, That's a prime spot. When we came around that area, you spotted one right away, and
Hmm.
next thing you know, you're in the bush going after this thing. I'm like, "What are you doing?" Right? Like, there's a difference, right? There's a little difference between the way we play. Like you say, well, normally I wouldn't do it, but it was so close, and it was so it was I could taste it. It was right there.
Yeah, and I think part of it for me is, and we talked about this on the trip, is like I used to hunt and get something,
Mm.
and like I still get stuff, but I hunt in a very different way. It was very much like goal, like we're going out, we're gonna get a bear, and now it's like I want to like have some experiences. So I love doing things that like if you read the rule book on how you should hunt most successfully, it's like this is not what you should be doing, but it's like it's really fun. So the bear, what had happened is the bear kind of bumped off of the road we were on, and you know I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go into the thick jungle and just like see how close I can get to him because I know that he just went in and stopped because that's what they always do.
Hmm.
Like, I'm gonna go see if I can walk right up on him, and that would be a cool way to get a bear. And it's like that's more about it than like I need to get a bear, so I need to do it right. It was more like this will be more fun, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna do that. And so I don't know, and that's more how I operate these days than when I started.
Well, that introduced something different to me as well, and you know, my comfort level of being around bears, I always figured was, I'm pretty decent. I'm pretty comfortable around them. I've never hunted in the area where you've hunted, and you've got a very high comfort level, just given the large amount of bears and large amount of exposure that you have there. I'm like, I probably wouldn't have done that, but maybe I'll give it a shot. Maybe I'm being a little too cautious in my approach. And so I've switched a few things up in how I approach it. Got a heck of a nice bear this year and incorporated some of the same stuff that you were doing. So I've learned from you, incorporated some of this, and man, I got some stories that we can share as well. And maybe we'll do it right here too about this year's hunt. That was
Yeah, no, I'd love to hear it. I mean, hunting stories. I mean, that's a tradition as old as time, I guess. And yeah, so if you want to share anything about, and I got lots of spring bear stories. We had a heck of a year here in Terrace with kind of my hunting crew, and yeah, but yeah, it
how
was
did it
lots.
work out for you up there? So you went to the same area?
Oh yeah, we went to the same area a couple of different, well, three different times I went up there this year.
Yeah.
I hunt a lot with my dad and my brother and my nephew, so we went up there. It's kind of funny. We'd been up there before. My dad had been up by himself and taken a nice boar, I don't know, 2 weeks before. And then my dad and I went up again with just me and him. And then I managed to get my first bear of the year. Um, a nice mature boar, not my biggest bear or anything, but like a nice mature boar still. Anywhere else in the world, people would be over the moon with it, but it's kind of here, it's like, yeah, typical adult male bear, you know, but it's like, yeah, he's probably just around 300 pounds, so he's not that big, and it's kind of like, for us, we're so spoiled, but anyway, so it was like a nice boar. Anywhere else in the world, yeah, they would have been, I watch these shows or
It's a
talk to people
monster.
in the lower 48, and they're like, oh, I've shot one 6 foot bear before, and it's like, here it's like, well, if it's not a 6 footer, like maybe don't take it, like you'll find a better one this afternoon or whatever. So it's kind of a different story, right?
Yeah.
um, and so anyways, I took my first bear of the year uh, in that same area again, and then it's like, okay, well, we knew, and we saw lots of other bears that day. I think we saw 11 bears that day, um,
11.
at
Holy
least
crow.
five of which would have been shooters. But we had, bumped some out and that sort of thing. And just, bears so sensitive to smell.
Hmm.
Um, and so we're like, well, we got to go back up there because we know where this bear is, this bear is, this bear is. And then I went up with my dad and my brother and my nephew, and we all went. And we took, a couple of really big boars in the matter of an afternoon. And my brothers and mine were both funny. Like we knew where these bears were. Like they're in this area, they're feeding on this area. So we went out with a mission, and it never seems to work that way, right? You know where one is, you go there, and they're usually like not exactly where you expected them to be. But these two bears were literally within like 100 yards of where we expected them to be, and we went in there and got both of them, and like we're home, for dinner, sort of thing. It was really bizarre. Like for my bear, which was probably my second biggest bear ever that I got this year, and the second bear of this year. It was like, okay, we're gonna walk up this hill, we're gonna get to that logging block, we're gonna look down this area, and the bear's gonna be standing there, we're gonna see him, we're gonna walk down there's this like kind of plowed up berm in the logging scar down there. We're going to stand behind that, creep down, and shoot him. And that's how it's going to work out. And I like planned this for like 2 weeks in my brain. It's like, that's how it's going to go. And the wind's going to be this way because it's going to be that time of day. And literally, like, it was step by step exactly. Like, I walked to where I was hoping to be, peeked around the tree. He's there. Let's turn around, go back down. My brother and I talked in. I'm like, let's get behind that berm, hike behind the berm, stand up, put my rifle on shooting sticks, and it's like 110 yards, and he's standing right there. And it's just like everything went almost too perfect because it's kind of like you planned it all out, and then it's like literally to the step exactly how it went.
Whenever those things happen, I always wondered, are we in the Matrix? Are we making our own? Like,
Yeah.
like
How
they
did
talk
I-
about manifest destiny, but
Yeah.
how much of this is us actually creating the situation?
I think a lot of it is just experience in the field, right? Like I've been doing this a while and I get a lot of time in the field because I love to go bear hunting with friends and I hunt a lot myself. And it's kind of like you understand, like that exact story. I knew my vantages because I've been there lots of times. I'm like, from here I can see this spot and that bear feeds there this time of day, right? So it's kind of like I already know that. So I've built that picture in my mind. And I know, okay, if the sun is shining and I check the weather, yeah, it's supposed to be shining. The wind's going to be going this way at that time of day. So you kind of like already have so much of the information in place. One, big time is knowledge of the area. And then two is going to be like, yeah, knowledge of thermals and all, what bears are sensitive to and how to judge a bear and all that. And it's kind of like, it feels like manifesting it, but it's also like just the science of it too. It's like you did all the calculations, right? It's like sun's going to be shining here, that time of day. Thermals are going to be going this way. If I'm here, he's not going to see me, so I've covered that too. And then and so it's kind of like, but the fact that the bear was standing exactly where we expected it to be standing was a little bit bizarre. But
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's really cool. Will you go out to your usual spots, which and then, because you're allowed 2 bears in BC for a season, unless you're a trapper, then you can take 2 more and you have to trap with a shotgun or a rifle, which is kind of counterintuitive. It just sounds like hunting again.
Yeah.
But will you go out to a completely brand new spot for your second bear just so you can have a new experience or a new learning environment?
I have in the past, and I kind of mix it up every year. But if there's like this bear we approached this year is like a bear we knew was there, and it was like a really good feed area. So it's like he's not going anywhere all spring. So if you see a bear of that quality there, it's kind of like, yeah, why would I go, do something else? Because the experience there is going to be taking a really big bear and a big old bear, which is, good for the population and stuff too. So it's kind of like, yeah, that's the experience in that case rather than like, yeah, go big adventure. But I do typically kind of play it that way. Like I take my first bear because my freezer needs meat, and the second bear is like, okay, either it's got to be a giant or it's got to be some kind of cool, really, really cool experience, or I'll just hang on to that fall, for a fall bear, onto that tag for a fall bear. So that's kind of how I play it. But,
So would you say that bear would be sort of the animal that you know the best when you're out hunting, or?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, I've taken a lot of bears in the last bunch of years and we consistently get to see a lot of bears. Like one year I started counting. I'm like, how many bears do I pass on before I shoot one? And it was a year where I just got out a lot. And I think I passed on like 16 bears before I shot one. Wow. Yeah, it's just like you see a lot of bears and you start getting better, and that changes the experience too, right? But, yeah.
I've got an idea, and you let me know. I've got this idea with the podcast. I've been trying something out, and I've got these downloadable assets that people can download at the end of the podcast. And the last one I did was with the National Firearms Association, and we're talking about authorizations to carry. And people all over Canada look at an authorization to carry as something that you just can't obtain, that they don't give out, which is entirely untrue. If you've got a lawful purpose to carry a handgun out in the bush, and I outline what a lawful purpose is, and in this guide I put together, you'll probably be issued an authorization to carry if you go through the proper steps. So I made a downloadable guide for people to get an authorization to carry a handgun. People can check it out. I'm wondering if after we're done here, you and I sit down and we put together the Casey Braam tips to seeing bears, which people can use for if they're into hunting, if they're into photography, or if they want to stay away from bears altogether, they can use that as a guide to staying safe in the backcountry. You game for something like that?
Yeah, and I'd say, I mean, that sounds great. And I think to add to it, we could talk about how to judge bears. And
Oh
that's kind of
yeah.
something for hunters, but also something, it's so funny. You'll see like in a community post, on Facebook or whatever, everyone's like, oh, there's a 400-pound bear in my backyard. And if
Hmm.
you look at it, it's like, that's a 150-pound bear. It's kind of like, just generally, and I think it's so funny that people get like every bear's a giant. And black bears are notoriously hard to judge.
Yeah.
Um, but I think a little chat about that in there too, just kind of like what it actually is a big bear, and what do they look like, and that can be yeah totally how to see bears and how to see bears, two different ways of looking at it, I guess.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's,
yeah,
and a lot of bears will experience, a lot of people experience ground shrinkage with their bears. It was a 400 pounder for sure. Maybe not when you get closer. And they're
hmm,
hard. It can be hard to judge.
very much, yeah, yeah,
Okay. Yeah. We'll do that as a separate downloadable guide afterwards. Let's go
yeah.
through
Sounds
that
fun.
one.
I like that.
I so I think Tiffany might be getting a little bear shy based on the situations that I've been putting her in,
Hmm.
and we had that mama and its cub come up pretty close to us when we were with you there that last year, and
Yeah,
hopping
yeah.
and popping, and of course Tiff and I are there. We both have rifles, and I was like, look, we're not moving. Let's just stand our ground. We got the rifles up. We're slowly talking to Mama. Okay, Mama, we're no threat. She had
Yeah.
no clue that her cub had already kind of walked through there and then walked away. And she kind of bumbled in afterwards and was
Mm.
trying to figure things out. And so we're like, well, hope your nose is good enough that you can figure out that bear's not your little cub's not here. So that was a little bit of a hair raising experience for her.
Hmm.
And we had a hunt, and that was pretty close. That was
Right.
15
Yeah.
yards or so away when it pops
Yeah.
out, and um, we had a an interesting hunt this year. So I went out to a spot where I've been before, and I've had success before. But every year you go, you're like, am I too late? I don't know. Should I have gone earlier? So this year I'm like, I'm gonna just go stupid early, and I'm gonna see what it looks like, and start plotting the land out. So went with a friend and went up really early. I think it was 6 bears in one day we ended up seeing, which is decent. And two of
Yeah.
them, two of them were shooters, and but they skedaddled pretty quick and didn't stick around for the show. Um, so we had a great trip, great time covering a lot of country, both on side by side and on foot, and then but went home without any meat. Went back a few weeks later with Tiffany, and we just weren't seeing anything in all of our regular spots. It's like this is really odd, right?
Mm.
And after about day 3, we thought, okay, let's just try a different area altogether. And in our different area that we went to, I ended up seeing, I forget, people, if they really want the full story, they should listen to the Wild Kitchen podcast,
Okay.
because that's Tiffany's podcast, and it was fresh in my memory. We told the whole story of that hunt, and it was pretty interesting. But we ended up seeing a sow and a cub, and then okay, well that's good. We're seeing stuff around here, but obviously you can't take a bear in the company of others. And we're driving around another section. It's like, we should really get out and walk. Like, this is an area that feels good. We didn't. And we ended up bumping a decent boar, and saw a nice color phased boar in this one area, set up on it for a while, nothing. Had a nap. Drove up to an area, had a bit of a nap in the truck, and just drifting off, and we hear this unmistakable sound of something large walking through the woods. And okay, I guess we're up. Here we go. How do we get out of the truck nice and quiet? Because it's not like in the States where they can have loaded firearms and
Right. Yeah.
vehicles. And Tiff sets up a ways off, and she's Overwatch, and I'm doing the Casey Braam, and I'm waiting for the thing to come up within about 15, 20 yards of me.
Yeah. Get close.
There you go. Get
Yeah.
close. I'm like, whatever. Casey could do it. And really, most of the time, these things scare off. But as I'm standing there and there's this slash pile and I can hear it moving around, it's the hillside that goes down. So it's in behind the slash pile. And I'm thinking, well, it's close, but it's probably not smelling me yet. It's moving around. And so I start walking closer after about 20 minutes to peek over the side. And just as I'm doing it, it's coming up on the hillside. So I start walking back again because I don't know if this is a grizzly. I don't know if this is a mama with cubs. I got no clue, right? It sounds like one.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, end up coming up about 15, 20 yards away from me. And we look at each other for a while. It was a taker, but like you know, I'm gonna wait. Even though I haven't seen anything, it's not the one.
Yeah, that's right.
And we just sat and we watched each other for a while, and then I gave it a little bit of a okay, you can go now, and off it went.
Yeah.
But we had a back where we saw the color phase bear, and we set up. We're waiting for it. We hiked up to the same spot on the clear cut. We parked back about 2 kilometers away because we wanted to be nice and stealthy and leave all the smell as much as we can away.
Mm-hmm.
Hiking on the hillside, waiting for the thing to come in. And I got this SAI Optics scope on it, and it's a low power scope. And Tiffany was set up as the shooter. And I figured I'd just, if it's in and it's close and it's fast, I'm there with a 308.
Yeah.
Got the 180 grain bond strikes from Norma in there, and I figured that'll be my job. Anyways, I'm like, I haven't used this scope too much. I'll take a little look through it. And Tiff's like, oh, do you see a bear? And I'm like, I take the rifle down, like, oh, yeah, actually I do, right? Like in this smaller bear was walking our entire line. And this was like after we sat down, a couple minutes after we sat down, and I'm just kind of playing around with my rifle and making sure my sight lanes look good, right? And this smaller bear is come walking right up, who's going to come right up to us. And I was like, I don't want this, right? And don't want to. Anyways, it makes it halfway up the hill and then turns around and leaves. And then and we're waiting there and waiting, and we figure we know where this color phase bear, and it was a good sized boar, and where it would be coming up. And when you hear a noise, but it just doesn't register.
Yeah.
And we were hearing this noise for a while, and then I look over at Tiff, I'm like, do you hear that? She's like, what? I said, it sounds kind of like a propeller. And you hear this kind of a sound.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, actually I've been hearing that for a while. And it was a bear making this kind of a sound, which I don't know. I haven't experienced something where you're sitting there for a while and this low sound is just slowly getting louder and louder without hearing the cracks and the cricks of the. Anyways, then we started hearing the cricks and the cracks, and she's not in a position that's good for shooting. I stand up. I've got the rifle up, and I'm pointing at the shaking bushes, but I don't see anything. And then it's circling around us, trying to get our scent, and it was doing this for a while, and then it makes a boom, boom, step forward into us. Still don't see it, and you hear this, like as it's breathing out.
Mm-hmm.
And anyways, I look at Tiff, and I'm like we'd been doing this for some time. I don't know, 10 minutes or so of me just having the rifle up on bushes and close bushes, but it was overgrown alders and or just a clear cut things, or everything's growing up. And so I look at her and at the expression on her face, and I said, do you want to move our position? She's like, yes. I'm like, okay, tell you what, you work your way down. There's so much deadfall. I'll stay cover here. You work your way down, get over this log, you cover, I'll do this thing. And we did this little hopscotch sort of tactical retreat from this bear. And I said, just keep your eyes peeled, because we've seen a few now in the area. There could be something in front of us, but we're making noise now, and by our moving and crackling. And I never heard this bear move from where it was. It was up there. I know it was just doing its thing. No clue size, grizzly, black bear.
Yeah.
But we get back down from the clear cut onto this road section, and I look at Tiff, and I look down the road, and I'm like, there's your boar. Right? And about 80 meters away, there is a good size black not the color phase one we're looking for, boar. And so I'm still standing up on a bit uneven ground. She's down. I said, "Well, just take a knee and make it a good shot." And
That's right. Yeah.
anyways, she does, and I've never seen a bear go just flatten the way that this thing did. And
Oh,
one round,
yeah.
and just completely over on its side. And she was using 280 Ackley improved, and that was with a rifle that IBI International Barrels had put together,
Hmm.
or I guess they're Internet IBI Precision Systems now. They've renamed.
Okay.
And she quickly rechambered. She's going to put another one with a follow up.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy crow, you got it. I'm looking at her. And so she kind of hesitated and didn't put a follow up in. And then all of a sudden, the thing kind of gets up and goes over the side. I'm like, oh, damn it. Sorry, Tiff. You were ready. I gave you false confidence that the thing was down.
Hmm.
And I said, okay, do you feel comfortable walking the 2K back to the truck? Like at this point, the sun had already set, it just had set. And
Okay.
so you still got an hour of shooting time from sunset. But I said, I'm going to walk over and I'm just going to listen. I don't want to spook it further. It was a really steep embankment that goes down. I'm just going to
Right.
listen.
Yeah.
So she's like, okay. So she walks the 2K back to the truck. I go over to where this thing went over and down the steep embankment. Because in a situation like that, usually you sit down and you wait half hour, 45 minutes or so, and then you go down and you're dealing with a dead animal. It's not been full of adrenaline.
Right. Yeah.
And as I'm listening for it, I can hear something large walking back up. And I think that was the original one that was kind of
Oh,
growling at us. I'm like,
yeah.
oh man, the decision branching tree is now just like changing at every second. Sun's going down. It's going down the hill. Anyway, she comes up in the truck. I said, look, be aware there's another one up there. And I'm going to go down with my 308 and I'm going to finish it off.
Right.
How do I get in here without spooking it further and trying to be so quiet, but it was dry and everything trickling and crackling. Of course, it spooks in further and its gravity's helping it and it's rolling down a hill. And
Yeah.
anyways, I ended up catching up with it. Got a round through with with that bond strike, which is a pretty neat round, and it double lung. You can hear it as it goes out, and but still had enough juice to continue down further and further down the hill.
Yeah.
And I think it was about 30 degrees or so that day during the day, but it cooling off during the night. So by now it's getting dark. I was like, man, I got to go after this thing. I don't know if I'm going to find the thing if once it gets dark with a head torch on and another bear up here and a brown color phase that we saw earlier right in this area. And anyways, ended up being able to catch up with it, sliced my knuckle off when I was she had won one of these Montana Knife Company little knives, and
Oh, yeah.
she was on a women's retreat, and I'm opening it up, and one of the first things I do and slice up, there it goes. I could see my bone and my tendon in there, but I could see that the tendon was intact, and
Yeah.
I pulled a Casey there. And
Yeah.
and I think you did something similar when on our
I
hunt
got
too.
some on my thumb, I think, when we were out, but that was just, it was our second bear of the day, and it was getting dark.
He was getting tired.
That's right. That's right. Well, whenever I see a bear and it gets hit and it falls just like flat, I'm more worried than if I see one like doing the spin or
Mm,
I like, of bears that I've seen lost, like never found, both of them drop to the ground like that. So I
interesting.
get really worried when I see bears do that. It quite often will mean I don't know where the hit was on this one, but quite often it'll mean a hit too far forward and you've broken a leg, broken some ribs but not lungs, and that's what I've seen in the past is like they're going for the high shoulder and shoot too low, or they're trying for lung but the bear's stepping forward and then they're hitting kind of in that void up front because bears, the lung, as you know, the lungs are typically further back than a deer.
Mm,
And so you can kind of hit a void if they're reaching and stretching their front leg way forward, and you can just like brisket shoot it, and it's just a flesh wound, and you lose bears that way.
mm,
And so yeah, I had one of my own bears when I first was early on hunting, shot it, it dropped like just flat as could be, right on its face, and I was just like, done, stand up, undo around, nothing, right? Total amateur move, right? Yep, done. I'll just go pick that one up. And literally, I stood up, it stood up, and it went over this giant bank, never to be found again. And we spent, hours and hours looking for that thing. A few signs of blood. It went back up the hill and was gone. And it's just kind of like it felt so good. That bear just like dropped straight down. Okay, yeah, exactly. Hands washed, done of this. Now I can go deal with it. But that wasn't the end. And kind of that was the lesson for me is like I shoot bears till they're dead. I mean, with you, I shot that bear 3 times. It was dead on the first one. Same thing with my big bear that I shot this year. First shot was 100% perfect. You know, double lungs, about 8 inches behind the shoulder, just perfect shot on a bear. But it was moving around doing the spin. Bears often try to attack the wound area,
Right.
just start spinning and spinning. Um, and yeah, I shoot bears till they're laying there and they stop breathing. Um,
It makes
and
a
that's because bears are hard to track. If they got lots of fat and long hair, they don't bleed at all.
Mhm.
I've shot a big bear that had a nice layer of fat and big long hide on it, and perfect double lung, actually out through the far shoulder. I tracked it like 20 yards just by the bush down grass, not a single drop of blood
Yeah.
to be found.
I think
And you get to them and it's just like a bit wet on one side. So it's kind of like I don't like tracking bears. I don't like tracking bears in the dark. And so whenever I'm with somebody new or anything, it's like if that bear's on its feet and in front of you and moving and breathing, you're shooting it.
I think
You know,
that's a
it's
wise. If anyone takes anything from this podcast and they're into hunting
mhm.
bears, I think that's very wise advice. Because
Yeah,
previously I'd be like, I don't want to waste meat. I don't want to do a shoulder shot. Like some people will do a shoulder shot because they want to drop it right where it is.
I totally, yeah, yeah,
Um, okay, yeah, you waste some meat, but you find the bear. Like there's a difference between wasting a little bit of meat or never finding the
never
thing again.
recovered that bear.
Right.
Yeah, and practice kind of like the offhand, you know, offhand shoulder, shooting at something, right? And try to do it like heart rate up and practice, trigger squeezes offhand and that kind of thing, because that's what it often ends up being, that follow-up shot, right? Especially because they're often trying to get downhill. So you're gonna if you're prone or even on kneeling and you shoot, they're gonna try to get somewhere else if they're running. And so be ready to stand up quick and start firing rounds, because it sounds like the Wild West, but I'd rather exactly find bears. And yeah, your hits aren't always 100% perfect when they're spinning around like a merry-go-round, but yeah, just practicing offhand shots. I think if you're going to be serious about bear hunting, um, yeah, I think for safety reasons, if for nothing else,
Yeah,
to really get quick offhand shots.
I think
And
that's
don't run the 6 times to 50 times scopes when you're bear hunting either. Unless that stuff drives me crazy. Guys will come out hunting and like their minimum, magnification is 6 times. It's like, well, what if a bear's at 15 yards?
that's it.
You're not gonna be able to. You're gonna have to just be looking down the barrel to aim at that thing.
That's it.
I say three. You want the four max. As your minimum. Um,
Honestly, I was considering. I threw the LPVO on my rifle, the low powered variable optic on mine. I was considering putting the red dot, just a simple red dot, because
yep.
fast, quick, close range. And I hummed and hawed back and forth because I've used that before and it's been very effective for stuff. And actually, I'll be giving one away in this episode here. So
Cool.
yeah, it's SAI Optics Red Dot's going to get given away.
Yeah. Very cool.
So people can look in the details for that one. But then I realized, well, this low power variable optic gives me the crosshairs, gives me the ability to reach out a bit. And I can
Mhm.
also turn the light on the thing because it's illuminated reticle,
Oh
and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's
cool.
basically like using a red dot. So
Yeah,
I ended up
cool.
going for that.
Yeah, I think sometimes you're reaching out for bears because they're across a canyon or whatever, but you need that, especially you're tracking a maybe wounded, maybe dead bear, and yeah, you want to be able to use your optics still if you have a chance, and yeah, yeah. Anyway, that's something I just try to impress on people too, is like
Yeah.
It could get real close quarters, and you never really know. Yeah.
We had, so I went hunting with a friend of mine, and he has been on a successful bear hunt before, and he still wasn't because we didn't get anything, but we were successful in seeing bears, which was good. And the first ones we saw, we were walking right up beside them, and we knew there'd be some in the area just based on the very little bit of sign that was there, but it felt berry. And we come around the corner, and sure enough, there's Mama and a cub. And uh, the day earlier, we'd saw a small, and I guess she must have had a couple of cubs because we only saw one with her there. We
Right.
saw a smallish cub that looked different than this one. So I'm guessing it was a couple, or
Right.
maybe I just didn't identify it proper.
Mm.
But he sees this young, probably 2-year old type bear, and not having the experience of being around it, the first thing he was saying, "Oh, there's a bear. Okay, let's go." And it if it's not in the company of other bears, perfectly legal, all the rest. But I said, no, no, that's not the bear for you.
Yeah.
We'll find something better, right? And
Mm-hmm.
but anyways, it's one of these things that with experience you start kind of calming down a little bit and tracking things a bit differently. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
y-
And even just learning how to tell a big bear from a small bear, it's tricky. It can be really hard.
yeah,
Sometimes small bears are really fluffy or, have a round head even though they're young, and
yeah.
so, yeah, you can be kind of tricked sometimes, but yeah.
But in those instances, we're close, and having a low power would be preferable. I had did a podcast with a guy by the name of Torkel Norling, and he's a Swedish fellow, and he does, I forget how many it was, several hundred culls a year because he's called out by the Swedish government or the traffic authority or the police, or if
Right.
an animal gets hit and he's got to go in and find it. But he's had instances, he says, I've got what did he say it was? I think it was a 40-meter security bubble around him, because that's what he does. He practices and he comes in close, and bang, he can shoot things quickly and accurately within about 40 meters. And he had a brown bear, what they have over there,
Yeah.
coming in, and it attacked his dog, and then came charging in for him, and he was able to get a brain shot on the thing at
Oh, yeah.
really close range. But that wouldn't happen if you got your magnification cranked to the max.
Yeah. 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 Even with guys like, yeah, just keeping an eye on your hunting partner's scope, because sometimes it's easy to forget. You line up on one bear that you
Totally.
think you might shoot, you zoom it all the way into 12 or 15 or whatever, and you're laying on some hillside, and then decide to pass on that bear, and then you go hiking again, and it's like, oh yeah, hang on.
Yeah,
Let's
totally.
take
I
this
think we've
back.
all done it. We've all
Yeah.
been guilty of
Oh yeah.
that.
I've done it. I've pulled up on a bear, and it's like, oh, I'm at 9, and that
You're like,
bear is
damn.
20 yards away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so that's good. So you've got meat in the freezer now.
Freezer is very full. Yeah. I think I always weigh out my yields because in the end, like that's a big part of why I'm hunting. So the bigger bear, I got like just under 140 pounds of meat off that bear. Um, so that's a really good yield. I mean, usually
Yes.
you kind of triple the yield to get the overall like round weight of the bear,
Yep.
kind of general thing. So that's a well over 400-pound bear. The second one,
Good.
my first one, I got right around 100 pounds off. So yeah, it
Okay.
was a heck of a spring for knocking down big bears.
No kidding. No kidding.
But yeah.
Well, you've got a little thing you're doing where you get people to find you out in the woods.
Hmm.
Can you tell me about this? What
Yeah.
inspired it?
What inspired it? Well, there, two things I love doing: getting outside, and getting into wild places, and my art. I mean, it's my work, it's my job, but it's also just, everything's kind of integrated in the way that I live, and so it's a big part of just my life. And so, you know, it's like, okay, these are two really important things to me, and I think, um, as far as getting people outside, it's an important thing to see people doing for like 100 different reasons. And so that was kind of like, you go for hikes and you just think about this thing. And I was like, what, I should just record an idea. So I made a
Mm,
video one day and it was just like, I have two goals for this summer, get people outside and make more art on location, right? Plein air painting. I'm like, these are my two goals for the summer. You
yeah.
could set goals for yourself, sure. And then I was like, well, how am I going to make that? how do I make those two things happen at the same time? It's like, well, maybe there's a obvious answer here. I just do both at the same time, you know? Like, so, just go out and make art and invite people to come and find me and enjoy the art making process, but also just enjoy the space and get out there and just kind of a draw, right? And even
Mm.
in some of the first, I've kind of initiated this project a little bit already, hoping for it to grow. But even in the first one, I had people who come and literally they were like, "Oh, I was on my phone on the couch and I was talking with my son about what we should do today, but we weren't really committing to anything." And we saw your post, and we're like, "Oh, there you go." So then they came and found me in a local park and went for a walk and a hike and took their dog out, and it's like it's a win, right? Like I think that that's really cool. So that's kind of the biggest motivation is it's very simple. It's just like get people outside. I feel like I need to grow and get better at doing kind of on location plein air painting. And so like these two things can go together. That's all that was all the idea really was.
Why was that a goal of yours to get people outside?
Because I think it changes your life. It makes you healthier. It makes you appreciate what's around you more, right? Like in Terrace, we live in one of the most beautiful places, you could ever go. You travel around, and I always come home, and I'm like, did we see anything better, than this, right? Like, um, so I just think it's so awesome here, and so it's just like, yeah, get people outside exploring. It's going to make them respect what they see more, or at least care about it more, right? Like,
Mm.
how do you have a heart for like stewardship in the world around you unless you're actually seeing it, right?
Mm.
And just watching someone else go for a hike on your phone is not is not it, right? You're missing 99.9% of the experience. So like actually getting outside, actually interacting and being a part of the wild world around us rather than just like being a consumer in every way you could imagine that word being used. And instead like get out there and see it, experience it. And art allows you to do that exact thing, experiencing it in a really different way.
Mm.
And so I think that's part of it as well. It's all evolving as I go, right? It's kind
Yeah.
of like, I just launched this thing and see where it takes me.
Yeah, you gave me a text and you're like, I got this idea.
I got this idea. Yeah, I'm like, I got this idea. And I kind of, try to connect with a few different people. You have a platform here. And I'm like, hey, I know Travis. He has a platform. Let's try to, here's an idea, you know?
Yeah.
And first of all, thanks so much for just like being immediately like, let's do it. Like, let's, somehow we'll figure out a way to help you on this. And I'm, super thankful for that.
Well, it
And everyone else,
100% aligns with my values, and
yeah.
I love it. I love the idea.
Well, thanks so much. I think it's fun. And yeah, just literally get people out the door, get them outside. And I think it will change everything about them. Like there's people that just don't go out. And, like for example, I'm not going to use names, but I
Use
have
names. Use names.
this family friend
Okay.
who, like they've lived here their whole lives, and they're, or most of their lives. And like they've never been to Terrace Mountain, which is like a local little park, takes an hour to hike to the top and you can see the whole beautiful Skeena Valley. And it's
Mm.
like people do this every day, but like you've lived here your whole life and you've never even like stepped out there or like, we have these amazing waterfalls and rivers and all these places to explore, lakes, and it's just never ending around here. Like I've lived here my whole life. My dad's lived here his whole life. And we still feel like we've hardly scratched the surface of what you can do outside around here. And so it's just people that are missing all of it,
Mm.
just like sometimes I'm just like, why do you even live here? But like, which is maybe a little rude to say, but it's like, this is the most amazing place, that I've ever been. And so it's like, let's enjoy it a little bit. Let's get outside and appreciate it. And I think though, once you start to appreciate and really love something or find it beautiful or whatever, your heart's going to go to it and you're going to start caring about it. And I
Mm.
think that's a big part of it too. Um, Caring about even just like keeping parks clean or just little things. You start to care about it more when you really engage with it and get out there. Yeah.
I like that. Having a shared culture or a shared commonality in a society brings them together. And what easier way to have that shared thing than your natural world that you all live in? That's right around you. I
Yeah.
think I think not only is it helping people in a way that they can connect with nature and feel more fulfilled in the same way that you do, but I think it also gives people that the pride that you so clearly have for the place that you live in,
Hmm.
to share that. And the more people who are proud of who they are and where they live, it's not a divisive thing where people are pitted against each other because one's on the left or one's on the right, or one grew up here and the other one immigrated here, whatever it might be. That if you get onto social media or these different platforms, the divisiveness is massive, but your shared world that you choose to live in
Hmm.
is something that can really bring people together. And that was one of the things that really struck a chord with me.
Oh, that's not maybe a perspective. I mean, I definitely see the community thing for sure. Like
Sure.
people gathering and seeing the same things, but that's not really something, you know, that was like a goal. But I
Mm.
totally get it. It's like no one stands on the shore of a beautiful lake in the mountains and be like, let's have an argument about how beautiful this is. It's like we're just gonna stand here, we're just gonna stand here and appreciate it, right?
Right.
And build community that way. And the special thing about adding the art piece, right? We could just be inviting people to come outside and we give them a prize for coming outside, and that's cool, right?
Sure.
Um, but like I think the art piece is special. Art allows you to really engage in something, right? One of the biggest things when I'm teaching art, I run a lot of courses and stuff and do classroom education and stuff. And one of the biggest things you realize right away is you're not teaching people how to make a mark on the page. You're not teaching people how to, mix two colors together, as much as maybe that's a little bit of it, right? You're teaching people how to see. That's
Hmm.
90% of teaching art, is teaching people how to turn that brain off, right? And actually let what you're seeing soak in, right? Because your brain is lazy, right? It wants to create shortcuts, and it's just how, human beings are made. Like we just need to be efficient at doing things, otherwise we'd be bogged down constantly, right?
Mm.
We can't be looking out the window and like try to take in every leaf and every time we see. No, we go, oh, tree, grass, flower, and then we move on, right?
Right.
But with art, you're like, I'm going to stare at that tree for 2 hours now, and I'm
Mm.
going to see the way the bark forms on the tree. I'm going to look at that tree and understand its life because, oh, look at that kind of scar coming down the tree, or the way that that bird has created a nest there, or the way that the leaves form on the branch, the way the water collects on that leaf, the way the light comes and shines through the leaf. But if there's stacks of leaves, the light doesn't come all the way through. You see the way the branches form. And then you see the tree next door and next door to that tree, and it's like, okay, well that tree has had a different life. It's the same species of tree, but because it's closer to that water or closer to that rock, it's growing a different shape. And like that's what art gives you. It
Mm.
gives you that you see everything and you start to understand it more. So art's not only like a pretty picture, and for the artist, it's so much more than it will ever be for someone else. I think,
Hmm.
because they're out there and everything they see is an education, um, right? Like I can look out my window here and I can see like a house, and I can see, okay, well look at the way that that light is dappled there because of the tree that grows over it. Well, look at the way that they've decided to put that fascia on and the way that that reflects light. And now take that into nature, right? And just kind of look at everything that way, right? My sketchbooks are full of like, here's 10 pages of me drawing bears. It's not that I forgot what a bear looks like. I want to see the way, the muscles form around the shoulder blade. And I want to see the way the hair folds on different parts of their body based on the muscles underneath. Okay, and when they step forward, oh, that all changes, or all these different things. And so you start to really kind of understand your world in a way that like there's no other way to do it.
Mm.
What else is going to make you sit and look at a small thing, right? Like I'm going to draw that intricate flower head, and I'm just going to sketch it in my sketchbook. Doesn't matter what it looks like in the sketchbook, right? It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be anything. But the time I've taken to understand how that flower is put together, that's amazing, right? And so for me, that's a big part of it too. It's like, let's get people out, and whether they're making the art or not, they can at least see me going and struggling through all that. And I'm often talking through it if there's people watching me.
Mm.
They're like, hey, look at that. Like my daughter was with me the other day, and she's like, why are you using purple? Like those are green trees and brown water and a bluish rock maybe.
Hmm.
And I'm like, well, look at the way that that shadow forms and the green and the brown and the reflection off the water. That's purple. Look at that. And she's like, oh yeah, you know, and that sort of thing. And just like little stuff like that can make you fall in love with all of the things you already know, 'cause, well, think you know.
Hmm.
Um, so much more because you're like there and you're truly seeing it because you have to. Otherwise, what's going to go on your page? You know? Yeah. Yeah. So
You know,
I think for that reason, I think art is it just as an important piece of that project as the outside part. I called it the art outside project, and maybe that's because art, comes first, the outside comes after,
mm,
and the two things obviously play off each other. But yeah, that's what I see art doing for people.
you know, so I like taking pictures,
Hmm.
and I got some cameras. I'll take pictures, and I enjoy that.
Hmm.
I'm not an artist. I take a bunch of pictures, and then I can find one. Okay, I think I know what I did there. It looks a bit better, and bin the
Yeah.
rest of them, and I'll maybe get into Lightroom afterwards and work on it. Or I'll take pictures on the phone, and then
Right.
I wasn't straight. I can crop it. There's a little bit of work I can do afterwards. But sometimes, like, I'll go out and I'm like, oh, I'm going to take some pictures, and I get out and I don't take any pictures,
Hmm.
and I find myself in a situation where it feels like it's a bit of a chore to have to go out there and create something,
Right.
and maybe I'm just not feeling inspired, but or maybe the environment is inspiring me so much I don't want to pick up the camera.
Yeah. You just want to enjoy it.
Yeah. Do you ever find yourself like that? Like you get out there, and you're like, I brought my paint and brought my paper, and like, you know what? I'm just going to sit here and enjoy it.
I think so, but at the same time, and I just want to touch on photography for a minute, and then I'll get back to your
Sure.
question a little more directly. But um, I can tell immediately when I'm painting a course if someone does photography for two reasons. One, they understand composition a little bit more, but number two, they already have a lot more of that seeing skill. So
Hmm.
I'm sure you experience this too. You're kind of like looking at a landscape or something, and then all of a sudden, even as you're starting trying to frame that picture, right? You're like, okay, here's the edge. Even in that moment, you're starting to notice more than someone that would go, look at that view, that's nice, and then they would keep
Hmm.
going, right? Even just taking a photo, you go, look at the way that water creates a perfectly straight line here. Well, wouldn't that look neat with a kind of, an angled tree? Oh, look at
Hmm.
that angled tree. That's kind of neat. Look at the way the light plays through that. That would make a good picture. Even that stage of photography is like a step in the door towards like kind of this seeing your world differently.
Hmm.
And so that gets me, even photography can be a really good kind of gateway into this, which is cool. Um, and then, yeah, kind of get to your other question about like, wanting to do it or enjoying the moment. Um, I don't think I've ever sat down and made a painting and be like, I wish I just sat here and enjoyed it,
Hmm.
because it's not as rich. You're not being forced to like break it down, and your memory, like, when we're hunting or just getting outside, you're often there, like, we're gonna go make some memories or whatever, right? Even the sign, like, take only pictures, whatever, pictures and memories or whatever, the kind of, sign at the park. But um, uh, to go and like paint something. Like I'm just thinking about I was out yesterday, making a little painting at a local lake here, and it was like, I've been there 100 times, easily 100 times. Been fishing there, hiking around, catching frogs when we were kids, like just doing that sort of thing. But yesterday I went and sat in one spot for 2 hours, share, staring at the same shoreline, for 2 hours. And man, the amount of stuff that like I never knew was there.
Hmm.
Or it's like, oh man, look at the way like that grass, even as the sun's come out, the grass has moved, and the leaves, the leaves have shifted as they kind of make sure that they have good surface area, to soak up
Hmm.
that sunlight. And just like, oh, when I started painting, look at the way the breeze was coming from that direction and riffling across the water. But now, I'm looking at my painting and looking, okay, it's changed. Now the water is still there and moving here. Oh, and look at the, just things like that. So I've
Hmm.
never like been like, oh, if only I hadn't sat there and painted for 2 hours. It's like, no, it's like, okay, well, that's a whole new place for me and will never leave my memory now. I have a really good understanding of what that place is. My experience there has been enriched, and the place for me has more value now.
Do you think
So,
your art's made you a better hunter?
100%. Way better at noticing stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that's one of the first things if people haven't hunted with me before is I'm like, hey, look at that moose rub. That's like, 100 meters in the bush between those 5 other trees. You know, it's like, "Hey, look at that," and they're like, "I never would have seen that." It's like, well, when you spend all day seeing stuff, literally, like that's what you're doing all day at work. You're just literally trying to observe things all day long.
Hmm.
It's like anything, you get better at it, right? If I spent 8 hours running every day, I would get really good at running.
Probably, I would hope so. I'd hope so.
Yeah. And so it's like, for me, it's like, yeah, observing and seeing has become such a big part of what you're doing as an artist. And so I think it totally applies to hunting and getting outside because it's like, yeah, you notice stuff, you kind of are breaking things down a little bit more maybe than someone else. Not that it makes you better than anyone else, but it's better than I was before, you
Right,
know?
right.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So one of the things, so there's a couple things in here that really struck me when you gave me the text. You said, "Would you be in at any capacity? You interested?" I'm like, "Yeah, 100% on board. Let's figure out. Don't know what it looks like. Let's figure it and do this."
Hmm.
Because I share the same sentiment. I'd like to get people outside. That's why I've got Silvercore Outdoors.
Yeah,
I want to
yeah,
share what I enjoy, and I see value there.
yeah,
The other thing that I saw, which I thought was kind of neat, and I'll use an analogy here. So you go to a fine restaurant and you eat food that is technically cooked perfectly and it's displayed great, but the lights are too bright and the music is too loud and the couple at the table next to you are arguing, and you're going to leave and probably rate that meal lower than you would in a situation where you go to some hole in the wall and you've got zero expectation and you eat this food and everything's lining up nicely, and for whatever reason, that food is like you're going to rate it at a higher level than this fine dining experience that you just had. And I think art's a lot like that. Why do some people spend millions of dollars on a picture and it will just take the whole tax evasion, whole picture, all that stuff out of it? But why do they spend so much money? What makes one picture more valuable than another? Like I'm in my studio right now and I've got some pictures that are extremely valuable to me. And I'm looking at a couple of goats, and I've got a fish scene over here, and you painted them, and they're valuable to me because of you and our relationship and the experience surrounding all of this. The pictures that you're making and giving away for free to these individuals,
hmm,
I think, are going to hold way more value to them than they would if they went to a garage sale and saw the picture there and picked it up, because they've now worked for it and they're in a beautiful place and it's part of an experience that they had to experience.
yeah. It's like, you know, why do we buy, cheap, bad photography postcards, right? It's like you go to a place and all of a sudden that place or that experience, I used to do whale tours and people would be snapping photos the whole time. And it's like, you know, it's like a token of a experience and a feeling, right?
Mm,
And yeah, the painting maybe is more interesting than that, but it's just like, you have this thing and you've assigned extra value to it because it's associated, like you said, with an experience.
hmm.
It's all this bigger meaning. They've come, they've met me, which is, I'm not like, someone really important, but it's like that's part of the experience. And I'm the
Sure.
one making it. And they've sat there. I'm chatty. I probably was talking to them while I was making it, you know? And, so they've had that conversation. They've talked through what I've talked through already. I've probably been there like, hey, look at that, look at the way that's coming there. Like the other day, I was at a local little creek doing a painting, and the person that took it home, I was standing there talking to them, and there were these robins kind of like bathing and playing in the water. And so I'm like chatting to them about that while I'm drawing just adding the little robins into the painting for them. And it's like there's a little experience. They'll remember that little piece now,
Hmm.
more. And we had the chat about that. And so I think, yeah, not only their effort of finding me or getting there or whatever it is, just the whole thing, right? It adds value and not necessarily monetary value, but it adds value to them of what that thing means to them, right? It's like remember that time, we went out and we did that thing and we went to that place
Right.
and yeah, really cool. So that's just kind of fun to kind of add an experience at the same time, right? Even if you went to a gallery and you walked around and you saw 100 paintings, if you see one that somehow relates to your life, you know, in somehow it's going to touch you more than something else,
Sure.
you know, and it's going to be like, okay, yeah, that is really really interesting, or that really, you know, touches my heart or whatever. It's just something deep inside you that's like, wow, that's cool. And it doesn't have to be realism or anything, just something about it, the colors, the composition, the way things are put together reminds you of something, or you know, whatever, and it just enriches the experience of that, and then adds value to it for you.
Well,
Whether it's for anyone else doesn't matter.
I think other people who are entrepreneurs or looking to, like you said, your goals are twofold. You want to get people outside and you want to expose them to your art.
Hmm.
Well, what a brilliant way to do that than to follow an example like this. And I know there's people on YouTube. What's the guy? I Love Your Journey, I think is
Yeah.
he gives away a watch. He sets up
Right.
these cameras and
Yeah.
stuff, and people have to figure out where he's at. Like I like the gamification of that. I think that's really cool.
Hmm.
Um, when we had the Silvercore website redone a couple of years ago, if it wasn't so damn expensive already, I wanted to embed secrets in the website that only somebody really observant who wanted to go in, like it's like what was that Cicadia 3301 where they try and find uh, clues and pictures, and you look at the size ratio and you put it to an algorithm, and you're able to find. Anyways, that was all part of the build out when I did the
Right.
website, and the team's like, Travis, like I guess we could do this, but we're already so far behind, and it's costing so much money, and where we're at, like, do you really want to do that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I think there's a guy, Josh Yo. He's got a Make Art Now. Have you heard of this guy?
No, no.
Okay, he's like more into photography and videography, but he's done a couple of things like that where he's got games and puzzles and codes and stuff
Yeah, yeah.
on the website. But I think this is an easier way for people to um, expose others to an experience and to
Hmm.
themselves and to their
Right.
business of whatever they do. And in the
Yeah,
process, they have fun, they have an experience, and they're going to
yeah,
associate those two. I think that's a takeaway that listeners can look at applying in their own business and lives. And
yeah, yeah.
I know it's something we're going to be doing over here, and I'll be doing shout outs to you and your artwork and the rest, and give away free courses. Travel to a location, find the little code, and report it back to us. Give away free. I don't know, whatever we got. I got some optics kicking around.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's based off of what you're doing. That motivated me into this.
Well, I'm happy to hear it. And you know, I've had a couple other artists be like, "Hey, I think I'd like to start something like this where I'm at," you
Hmm.
know. And I think the biggest thing is, you know, and you've seen this through Silvercore and your progress there is like, if you have an idea that seems like it will work and you're excited about it, someone else is going to be excited about it too, and just go for it, you know? Like I I was initially I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, I need to get like all my ducks in a row first. I need to get like, you know, backers and people to help me promote it, and I need to get all these sort of things figured out as I go before I get going on it. And then at the same time, I was like, why? Like,
Well, that's
why
it.
get all that stuff first? Why not make this project happen? Try to like make my own proof of concept by just doing it, and then try to get all that other stuff, you know, kind of rolling. And so that's kind of more that's more me anyway, less planning, more just
Hmm.
going. But um, yeah, I kind of that's kind of my motivation to get it going. But again, it's so much about just kind of that enriched outdoor experience and seeing what that, you know, can do for people.
Hmm. I think there's a lot of value to that. Typical ADHD style. It doesn't have to be done. It just has to be perfect, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
done is better than perfect. Get it out, get it rolling, and build
Yeah.
it out from there.
Yeah, I think that that's great. And I just, you know, and maybe I'll ask you a little bit about this too, because like everybody's outdoor experiences, I think, are enriched in different ways. And
Mm.
so you know, and I want to make sure that I'm being kind of conscious of that as I do this. But also just as I take people out and do stuff or, you know, whatever, join on adventures. I think, yeah, I kind of want to talk to you about what on your, adventures or just outdoor experiences, what are some of the things that make that, like if you could write down some ingredients, like your wife's a chef, so it's like, what are some of the ingredients that would really make an adventure more meaningful, a more rich experience, more flavorful, if we're sticking with the analogy here. Um, what are some of those things that really impact you when you're doing like any kind of outdoor adventure, going fishing, going for a walk, going for a hike? What are some of the key pieces? What do you think?
I think for me, it's being able to say yes to things. If someone comes up with a stupid idea and you're like,
Mm,
I don't know, is it stupid because it's stupid or is it stupid because we've never tried it before? And
hmm.
if it's stupid because you've never tried it before, then we'll say yes, let's give it a shot because you don't
Yeah,
know what's going to happen. If it's truly a stupid thing, maybe I still say yes. Who knows? I've been known to do that in the past, but
yeah,
I
yeah. It's hard to sometimes draw the line between bravery and stupidity, but
yeah, it's pretty fine. It's pretty fine. um, but those experiences tend to break the norm, and they tend to
right.
get the brain firing in different ways than if you're stuck in the office mindset, you're stuck in the city mindset, you're stuck in the whatever rut of, oh, this is a place we go fishing, you put the rod in, you come back, right? It's finding ways to uh, make that new and fresh, I think is a key ingredient to having it memorable. If you're
Yeah,
fishing with your kid and they want to put bubble gum on the end, okay, let's give bubble gum a shot on the
yeah,
on the,
yeah,
on
yeah,
the end of the rod, and sure enough, it starts hitting. Right? It's
yeah.
and you'll always remember that, and it's an enjoyable story to tell. And it's I think for me, that's a part of it.
Hmm.
Um, Being in the right mindset or mind frame is always a big part of it, and how I can get there is by being open to what happens. It's neither good nor bad, but thinking makes it so, right? So
Hmm.
I won't think it's bad. It's just this is what's happening and this is interesting. And it's an experience I get to feel now. Whoop, I
Yeah.
broke my ankle. Okay, this is interesting, right? It could be the end of
Hmm.
the world and totally suck, or it could be like, all right, now I've got an adventure ahead of me. How do I get myself out of here, right?
Yeah. I was even thinking about that point when you were talking about Tiffany and her bear situations.
Hmm.
Um, it's kind of like if you come out on the other side, right? Like, what's your mindset, not only in the moment, but after, Because, like, yeah, I've been in some hairy bear situations and stuff before too, but it's like you come out the other side, right? It's like,
Right.
I'm here, I'm standing here, I've never been injured by a wild animal. It's been close, but it's kind of like, okay, well, now I start to understand the boundaries a little more, and it makes my future experiences, kind of richer because it's like, okay, well, I know those, I don't want to be purposefully pushing the boundaries, but I know I can be in situations like this and come out the other side. And that, yeah, so I was kind of thinking about that as you said that too, and it kind of cranks up the dial on adventure each time, right? Because it's like, you know what, we did that, and I always think back to my first goat hunt. Um, I hadn't been hunting long. I was pretty new to it, and it's like, oh yeah, let's go goat hunt. Like, and then now it's like one of the most dangerous hunts in the world because of the locations you're in and that sort of thing. But I ended up having a big fall on that first goat hunt. I'd shot my goat, um, and it slid down the hill as they do, and I was going to go get it, and I lost my footing on wet rocks. Probably a little too excited to go see the goat and not thinking clearly about my route. Um, and took a pretty big fall and wasn't terribly injured, but it was like, it could have gone a lot worse.
Mm.
100 yards to the right, and I would, wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. But it's like, yeah, those kind of situations. But we got home that night,
Mm.
and it's like, and so now it's like, yeah, that was a terrible but magnificent day at the same time. And so it's like, yeah, that kind of pushing the boundaries, and being like, okay, I survived that. You know, we left way too early in the morning, and we did this whole. First of all, we're like, we're never goat hunting a 1 day goat hunt again. We'll always, we left. We started hiking from the highway at like 5 o'clock in the morning, or even a bit earlier in the dark. And we got up the bunch of the trail in the dark. Sun came up. We got up top. There was fog. It cleared. Shot a goat by like before noon, but like we're on the middle. We're like what 4,000 feet of elevation we climbed that day.
Mm.
Um, Goat fell, cleaned the goat, pack it all. We were back at the truck like after midnight doing sketchy trails in the dark by headlamps, with super heavy packs coming out after getting a big billy. And it's like, yeah, and having a big fall in the middle of the day, that could have been a lot worse than it was.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of teaches you, like, first of all, we should be more careful, but also at the same time, we're capable of so much more than we think we are,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And yeah, so that's just kind of my thoughts on that enriching experience and pushing the boundaries. But yeah, what else? Other recipes, items for you. What do you think?
Speaking on that, I've always had the at a young age, I learned that you never feel as alive as when you come close to death. The
Yeah,
closer you get to that knife edge of disaster, the more alive you people tend to feel. And I don't know if I think that's for everybody. I think some people are scared of that and they're afraid of
mhm,
being on that line. And I think
yeah,
some people unreasonably seek that line out. And
yeah,
I likened it to uh, cliff jumping into the water. And you
hmm,
go up and you up there and you're looking down and it's okay, 5 meters up and I jump in. Okay, it was good. And nowhere close to going to the bottom. 12 meters up and I'm jumping in. Okay. Like at what point do you stop? There's always a higher, there's
yeah,
always a further.
yeah,
And it's like something's going to stop me at a certain point as I get higher and higher and higher.
mhm,
And I apply that to my life. Is this a cliff jumping situation that I'm in? Am I
right,
seeking out things for the wrong reasons that might not be safe? And of course,
mhm,
like you're a father as well and husband, and you got a family that relies on you, and your decision making matrix tends to change, and you
right,
become perhaps more inclined towards safety as your reckless youth would have inclined you towards.
yeah,
Um, but in that same breath, I think a lot of people get stuck in the easy excuse of, well, I got a family, I got people dependent on me. Well, I can't go out and do stuff. And you
mhm,
need that friction. You need that
mhm,
pressure of pushing yourself into the unknown
yeah,
to feel alive.
yeah,
And that's what I think. I think that's a key ingredient is
mhm,
having that question mark. And like we did me and a couple friends, I got a whitewater raft that I picked up from a company that went out of business a number of years ago after I'd almost drowned several times whitewater rafting in like cheap Canadian Tires cellular rafts
yeah,
without a life jacket and without wetsuits and without anything to offer in flotation. And so anyways, worked my way up, ended up rafting most of the rivers around here. Ilaho, Nahatlatch, the Chilliwack rivers, the Thompsons, some decent bigger
yeah,
ones.
yeah,
And anyways, we said, well, let's do a sheep hunt and let's take the raft and we'll do 100 kilometers down the Fraser River.
hmm,
I'd never rafted the Fraser,
yeah,
and I couldn't bring a drone with me. I mean, when I first started rafting, there's no such thing as drones, but to scout areas because we're hunting, and if you have a drone while hunting, that's an
yeah,
immediate nope, can't do that in BC.
yeah, yeah,
So all we had was we look at the maps and it says whirlpools and it says rapids on the maps, and we have no idea what that means at this time of the year.
yeah,
but,
yeah,
but that question mark makes for a memorable hunt. You don't know where you're sleeping the night.
oh
You don't know when you're going to be back. You don't know what whirlpool and rapids mean on the map to what you're used to.
yeah, hmm,
I think that's an important piece that people need to incorporate into their lives is that question mark. And they have to determine what their level of preparedness is to be able to deal with these question marks.
100%. I was talking like, and like the building up to that, it kind of shows both, like for your rafting trip, kind of shows both sides of it. It's like here we were doing it, fairly stupidly at the beginning,
Oh,
but
very
that
stupidly.
adventure draws me back every single time, right?
Hmm.
Even if it was kind of stupid at the beginning. And it's like, so you're building the adventure gets bigger, but you're also getting smarter, which is a good sign. It's kind of like,
That's
because it can be,
arguable. Wiser,
yeah,
maybe, but
yeah, I think that's a good sign. It's like we're gonna keep doing this adventure, but we're gonna get better at, having some safety standards and stuff.
mhm.
But I was actually talking to someone a little while ago about this and goat hunting. I remember coming back to that goat hunt I was just talking about, and like by the end I was completely dehydrated. My muscles were all starting to lock up because I'm walking down. and I'm injured and I'm just having a hard time. I got a heavy pack on. I think we weighed our packs when we got home. We're like in the 80, 90 pound
Whew,
range.
that's
And
enough.
it's like, we're in rough shape, right? We're coming down this hill. And everything was starting to pile up. And I was like sitting on the trail and I was to my brother, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I can get to the highway. Like, so he's like, okay, I'll go ahead. I'll get the truck, at least get that closer, but you have to get to the highway. Like, I'm not carrying, you're a 250-pound guy and a 90-pound backpack.
Yeah,
Like, there's no human that's
I
carrying
ain't
you
doing
down
it
this
for
path.
you.
Yeah, sorry. He's like, I'm going to go get the truck and get it closer. Um, and I remember sitting there being like, I'm never doing this again. I'm
Mm.
never coming on this trail, and I'm probably never going to go on again. Like, this is, and then, but by the time my butt sat in the seat of that truck, I turned to my brother. I'm like, first, I'm so happy we did this, and that I did it with you, and let's do it again. You know,
Awesome.
and just like I was just like, and that was my attitude towards it. But I was talking to a guy the other day, and he's a lots of moose hunting and big adventures and stuff, and he went on a goat hunt, and they had some sketchy things happen as they do on goat hunts, and he came home and he was still like, I don't know if I'll ever do that again. And
Mm.
he built up his courage again for a couple of years, went out again, and then came home and was like, I don't know if I'm ever doing that again. You know, same attitude. And so it's just kind of, I think a bit of its mindset and personality and that sort of thing too. But yeah, there is kind of a beauty to walking that line a little bit and being like, no, that was what I needed. That is what I wanted to do. It was hard. It was the hardest thing I ever did. And it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, but I look back on it being like, man, am I ever happy I did that? You know? Yeah.
In youth, some of these things that look scary really aren't, and some of
Oh,
these
yeah.
things that don't look scary really can be, right? Like slipping on a rock could be the thing that ends it, and that's not the thing you're thinking about being probably fearful of, or being dehydrated at the end of the day. Is
Yeah.
it could be a game stopper
Hmm.
depending on where things are at. I know if I look at the rafting situation, I look at these big gnarly rapids and think, holy crow, that looks crazy. Well,
Yeah.
no, you just swim through those. You just go up and down. If you got a life jacket on, you bob through them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's these dark things that kind of recirculate or will
Yeah.
bring you back, that or have strainers involved that don't look like
Yeah.
anything at all, but you get a little bit more experience and you're like, you can spot what actually is danger
Hmm.
and what just looks dangerous.
Yeah. 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 I think for me, part of that like experience recipe too, and maybe even more as like, you get older, have kids start growing up, um, also parents aging, that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
It's like the people that are standing next to you when it happens. Like I got a great picture from this spring of like, I'm standing there at the head of the big bear I shot, and right next to me is my brother, and next to him is his son, and next to him is my dad, and we're all standing there, and it's just like, how many times are we gonna get to do this, you know?
Well, that's
And
it.
so that is a big part of it for me now, maybe more than ever. But at the same time, I love kind of that question mark that you're talking about of hunting by myself.
Mm,
One, you get to make all the choices and you're not compromising for anyone, right?
right.
When you hunt in a group, especially if you have like varying ages and abilities,
Hmm.
you have the kind of like, I can't hike this far, I can't carry that, or you're just like constantly making compromises. Should we do this or that? But like with yourself, it's like you're making all the choices and you live with the consequences and that's it.
Hmm.
And I really like that about hunting by yourself. So there's kind of these two things that I really, so they seem completely at odds with each other, but I think that both of those things are important ingredients for me.
What about you're getting older. Your kids are starting to get older. Are there uh, any things that you're doing that feels like it's just route? You're doing it again and again, or is that part of the enjoyment?
I think, um, I don't know. Being with kids is just being with kids. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's terrible and awesome at the same time, as I think parenting is. Right? It's like so much work. It's exhausting,
Yeah.
but it's the best thing you could ever do. Right? So it's like it's both of those things at once, and it doesn't change when you take kids outside. It just maybe it gets a little harder in some ways, but um, I have a almost 5-year-old and a 10-year-old, and yeah, you get them outside and like they're there. They're just doing their thing. You know, you got to kind of, I find it takes a couple times, like it's summer now, right? And kids are off school, and it's like you got to kind of reroute their brains again, being like, no, there's nothing after this. There's no next class. There's no
Mm.
lunch break. It's just like we're here, and this is what we're doing. Like, and that's a bit of an adjustment after a busy school schedule, right? It's like during the school year, it's like, you got this class, you got this class, you got a short break, this class, little short break, and that's just how their day goes. And they're so wired to be kind of in that extreme routine. And then you like go trout fishing at the lake, and they'll be like, after their 40 minutes they're used to, it's like, okay, what's next? And it's like,
Mm.
nothing. We'll do this till supper time, and it's just like that, and that adjustment is hard. But once you make it, it's like, oh yeah, this is easier. Like they can just be free and make their own choices about what happens when, and outside you can do that, and it's hard to do that in any other environment, right? Like sports are awesome, and I love sports, but again, it's a lot like school. We do this, we do this, we do this, we go home, right? But outside, it's like, oh, we're at the lake. I got fishing rods, I got, a paddle board, I got whatever. I got all this, I got some food, and the rest is whatever. We'll be here till supper and do, as long as it's safe, do whatever you want, you know?
I I think our kids nowadays they're growing up in a panopticon. Everyone's got a camera. There's cameras on the Ring doorbells. They can't go around doing the
Yeah,
whatever Nicky nine doors or putting
yeah,
burning poop on people's porches or
yeah,
any stupid thing that they do is going to be recorded, and consequently, I think that you're finding our youth is a lot more reserved to do things that maybe we did in our youth.
mm,
However, if you can bring them into the outdoors in a place where they don't have cameras and stuff all the time, they can act like idiots again, and they can learn things and do things without the worry of everyone having eyes on them. I think there's a real value there
yeah,
to that, and to being bored because the batteries are dead on the devices, or you didn't bring
yeah.
them or don't have them. There's a lot to be learned in boredom that we are depriving ourselves of.
I think so. And just like a sense of adventure, right? Like
Mm.
everything's so safe and sanitized, and it's just like outside, it's like, get dirty, you know? Walk out on that slippery log, see how that goes,
Yeah, maybe you
Just
make
like,
it, maybe you don't.
exactly. You might fall in, but if you do fall in, you'll be fine too.
That's right.
I remember it was a few years ago now. Our youngest was a toddler, and my older daughter, would have been 4 or 3 or something, and we were out on the paddleboard. And I got a bigger board, so we were all on there, little one. And it was like spring. It wasn't like you're jumping off the paddleboard and going swimming, like the water's proper cold, and you're not going swimming on purpose. And we're just like paddling around, checking out. There was a bunch of pike minnows spawning in the shallows and stuff, as there is in the early spring. So we were like watching that, and the eagles were hunting them. It was really cool. Um, they were pulling big pike minnows onto the beach and eating them right there. And it was all really neat. It was cool. We're paddling around the paddleboard. I'm trying to show them the, damselfly nymphs that are starting to climb the reeds as, the sun, day warms up. And it's like, yeah, this is really cool. This is really neat. And then my youngest daughter who's like a brave little soul, but is always getting hurt. But anyway, um, just crawls off the end of the paddleboard. Just no reserve. Sees something, it's just like, yeah, I'm going off the end. It just like crawls right off the end, straight into the lake. And immediately, my older daughter's just like, and she's very much safety minded. She's just like super worried about what's going to happen. I'm like, she's a life jacket on.
Hmm.
Like, nothing to worry about. So, and the youngster, like, there's the shock of the cold water, but she was like immediately fine. But you know how if you've been on paddle boards a lot, they drift quite easily. So just the force of my younger daughter falling separated us
Sure.
immediately. And I'm like, Tilly, my older daughter, it's gonna be fine. She's floating there. Nothing's gonna go wrong, right? And I was just kind of talking through that, like risks, and I always think back on it, like, yeah, it's a funny little story, but also
Mm.
it's like showing kids that, like, you know, risks happen, but like everybody came out okay, and it was just a bit cold, whatever. Like we had to change clothes because like take kids paddleboarding, someone's gonna
Hmm.
get right. Like, um, but it's just kind of that lesson of like, nope, take a deep breath. Everything's gonna be fine. This is a low risk situation, right? Like we got it under control. We've been smart. We've put the life jackets on, but we're still having adventures and doing cool
Sure.
stuff, and yeah, I feel like so often that's avoided. It's like, oh, there's a tiny risk here. Something could go wrong. We could be uncomfortable.
Hmm.
Like, so we're not going to do that. And it's like, no, that's kind of stuff's awesome. And
Yeah,
you kind of hope it happens, right? Or my dad would purposely flip our canoe when we were kids all the time.
yeah.
He'd
That
be
you can
like,
learn how to write it and get back in.
we started to figure it out when he started tying all the stuff down in the canoe. And
You
we
knew what was going to happen.
knew something was coming. But yeah, if he's tying his fishing rod to the seat in front of him, you know something's going down. But yeah, just kind of that, like, there's this edge, and you got to figure out where we, walk, on that. So,
I love it. Well, is there anything else that we should be talking about that we haven't talked about?
um, I think maybe a little bit about how people can get involved in the Art Outside project.
How
Um,
can people get involved in the Art Outside project?
well, number one is just like be involved in social media, of course, like help get the word out. That's probably the biggest thing, right? So much of it is just reach and getting everyone to know what's going on. The other thing is I would love to see people um, starting it up in their own areas, or just like taking that momentum of what it is, right? Just get outside, you know, make some art. And it doesn't have to be art, right? Like people try to define art as like, oh, it's not art, it's just a doodle or whatever. It's like
Hmm.
it all serves that same purpose I talked about, like sitting down and looking at something. Who cares what it looks like in the sketchbook, right? Like not me. That's what my sketchbooks are for. They're just for like making a mess, and that's how you learn. So any way you can engage with it, and then just like share that, like be part of getting the word out on it, and how and share too how it, like, if you find, hey, I've been getting outside and doing art, or I came and found you or whatever, just share and be like, hey, this is the experience I had. Because the more people that get exposed to it, I think, the better. And it's not just like for me. Yeah, of course I want to promote my art and people to see what I'm doing, but it's way bigger than that. It's like,
Hmm.
let's try to get people, invested in the outdoors in every way you could imagine that word being used, right? Like, you know, invested emotionally, like really caring, thinking that it's interesting, falling in love, and realizing how beautiful it is, but also investing, like, there's all these, conservation groups, and there's so much work that can be done by investing financially or whatever, right? Like, just get invested in the outdoors, make it an important part of your life. Um, just like everything else, like we love our kids, we look after our kids. Let's let's do that too, right? Like let's invest in that in every way we can as well. It's a big important thing, and part of the lesson of it is like it's not nature here and us over here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those are the same thing, and
100%.
yeah, and I see so much. It's like, oh, just leave nature alone. It's like, well, that just, that whole kind of mind frame is like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean leave nature
Oh,
alone?
you're in their territory.
Yeah, I know. It's like, no, we both live here. That's it.
That's it.
It's not like
We're
we're
an animal.
encroaching on them or they're encroaching on us. It's like, this is nature.
Yeah.
This is all nature. This is all the world we live in, right? Um, and what your beliefs are outside of that, it's kind of just like, no, like this is, you know, this is where we are. This is where we live. This is home, and that whole, like, yeah, nature's here, we're here. These two things are either at odds with each other or
Right.
what. But, like, no, like, so everything you do affects the other, and everything they do affects you too. Like whether it's animals or plants, or, you know, if I always think of trees, like people, you know, I burn wood for a living, but cut down trees, and it's not like I'm abusing trees. I realize that it's a life in a way, but also kind of just the fact that we make each other's air. A tree
Mm-hmm.
needs carbon dioxide, we need oxygen. Like, how can you say that we're two separate places? It's just
Yeah.
like, no, this is nature altogether. We literally exchange our breath back and forth with the trees. You know, and so it's, yeah, you can't say that like we're over here, nature's over here. Let's, and maybe that's more obvious living rural like we do,
Mm.
but in the city that tends to get lost a bit.
I think it does.
And unfortunately, not unfortunately, but it just happens to be that most people live in big cities. Um, and I don't think that it's harder to kind of realize that there is no separation down the middle,
That's right.
right? It's not like, these two separate things, and getting outside and experiencing that and studying it, like I said, through art or watching someone make art or talk to them about making art, can help you realize that there's no line, there's no fence.
Yeah.
It's all one piece. Yeah.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground here. We've got a SAI red dot that's going to be given away. I think that'll help bring some attention to this episode and to what you're doing. It's a pretty sweet red dot sight made by Armament Technologies through SAI. And if you're a Silvercore Club member, you're entered in for free as it is. For anybody else who isn't a Silvercore Club member, and if you are a club member and you want to get another entry, maybe what you and I do, Casey, is once this wraps up, we'll record a quick guide on bears. People can download it, and for every download, that gets them an entry into the to winning this red dot sight.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah. Other news. So IBI, the rifle that Tiffany took the bear with, and 280 Acme approved, a nice carbon fiber barrel on the thing. It's a really accurate, beautiful gun, but Silvercore Club members get 10% off. So if you're a club member, check your club member portal and you can get 10% off of IBI barrels, off their actions, off their whatever they have there. So that's another cool thing that we can bring up. I think those are my major talking points. Do you want to get in and record the bear thing?
Let's get after it.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
Well, thank you very much for being on this podcast, and we'll end the podcast here. And for anyone else interested on the bear chat and getting in on winning a SAI Optics red dot sight, then there'll be instructions that you can see in the description. Casey, thanks so much for being on the podcast again.
Thanks so much.